Welcome to SEO Edge, and welcome to the Internship Targeting Deck, charting the course of your future. Today, we'll cover how to think about targeting, the SEO Internship Track Category Introduction, understanding industry and firm and culture, and how to research your track and firm. The remainder of the deck will bring you through all of our track categories, each track specifically, some SEO intern spotlights, and the SEO network. To end, we'll round out with how to move forward from here, the tangible next steps you'll want to take, and the milestones you'll achieve by taking those steps. So, what is targeting? Targeting is your first step in determining what career is right for you. First and foremost, it's important to acknowledge that targeting can feel incredibly overwhelming. If you love learning, you're also probably capable of excelling in many different careers. So having lots of options at your fingertips can be beneficial. It can also lead to an overwhelming experience. You can use this deck to discover the careers that can present a true growth opportunity for you. Why focus on growth? Ultimately, if you want to get more than a paycheck out of work, it's important to frame any career endeavor as an opportunity for you to grow. Every environment you step into will encourage or discourage certain behavior and skill development. So ask yourself the following question. How will the environment created by your career challenge you to grow into the person you want to become? You can do this by researching the key skill sets that are vital in your track of interest and the culture of the environment you're heading into. This deck is a great starting point for that research. After you've looked through this deck in more detail, use the targeting exercise to bring it all together. To narrow your career choices, consider the legacy you want to leave behind. Do you want to be a leader? Someone who can act swiftly in high-pressure and fast-changing environments, or maybe somebody who understands, appreciates, and can build community. The world is at your fingertips, but it's up to you to take the time to create that clarity. Who do you want to become? Which career will provide a structure that can motivate that becoming? At SEO, we think about careers as tracks, and we organize those tracks into categories. Those categories are determined by the growth opportunity provided by an internship in that track. We encourage you to consider the following categories more broadly, then focus in on a specific track from there. In our first track category, you can impact company success from the inside out. And implement any of these tracks will challenge you to learn what it takes to be a good community member. What does that look like? You're taking on a role and working with other departments with different roles, with the ultimate aim of contributing to the bigger picture, the company's overall bottom line. These careers will give you a good sense of the inner workings of a company, and you'll ultimately develop strong organizational skills and refine your ability to communicate to many different types of personalities. Our second track category will position you to determine the fate of market players by navigating the market. What is the market, and what does it mean to navigate it? The market is where securities are traded. From stocks to bonds, commodities, and futures, the market is often described as an animal. The tracks in this category will challenge you to understand that animal, to predict what events will affect its behavior and by how much. The environment created by these tracks in the second category will position you to become someone who can take in and digest a lot of information, someone who can think quickly on their feet, adapt to rapidly changing environments, and work under pressure. The last track category will position you to guide corporations into their next stage of development. In these tracks, you'll learn how to advise other companies, oftentimes on a large scale. What does that mean? It means that environments created by these tracks will challenge you to step into a newfound confidence, because one day you'll be speaking to clients. So everything you present will need to show an impeccable attention to detail and a thoughtful strategy to bring your client into the future. After deciding which category best suits your growth goals, narrow in on a particular track by focusing on culture. This is going to require some research on your end. To begin that research, start with your industry of choice. To understand the day-to-day activity of your role, look up the role in question. Sites like Indeed and Monster always have open roles, so use that to your advantage by looking up the roles you're most intrigued by. For example, if you're interested in an investment banking role, search Investment Banking Analyst on Indeed and see what pops up. The role description presented by the company is one of the best places to start because the role posting will outline the skills and personality traits desired for that role. Stay in the know about the industry of your choice by subscribing to publications that will help you stay up to date with the latest. The Wall Street Journal is a comprehensive newspaper that can provide great insight into industry and oftentimes will give subscription discounts to students. Next, dig a little deeper by researching firm culture. You can use social sites like LinkedIn to get a sense of the background that each employee brings to a specific company team. Any overlap in an employee background will be a great guide as you try to better understand what kind of traits and skills a specific company is looking for. Don't forget, you're in SEO, and there is a great deal of benefit associated with your participation. Use SEO network sites like Cronus to reach out to SEO alumni so you can get a personal opinion about important aspects of the job experience, like firm culture. Ultimately, a company's website will be a goldmine for you if you want to understand a company in a more intimate way. A company's values are core to how it operates, so make sure you understand their values and the company policies that let you know how the company is fulfilling their commitment to a set of ideals. Ultimately, targeting is a very personal experience, but SEO is here to help. We have relationships with several companies and firms that work with us to help you learn about and transition to these new environments, so ask us questions. For the remainder of the deck, we'll take some time to discuss each track category specifically. The first track category for you to consider is a group of tracks that position you to impact company success from the inside out. Companies play a large role in the way our economy functions. If you choose this track category, your internship opportunity will teach you the ins and outs of community. In each of these opportunities, you're learning how to work across functional areas and ultimately contributing to the workings of the bigger picture, the company's overall success. We have many partners in this track category. Give this page a second look. You'll see several banks, real estate firms, and several companies like Johnson & Johnson and Boston Scientific. So what are some of the opportunities offered by this set of partners in this specific track category? The first track in this category is business services. Every company will collect cash, handle cash, and use cash. Working in business services means you're helping the company improve their cash position by making all of these processes more efficient. Ultimately, if you're working in business services, you're making sure the company is adequately managing its short-term assets and liabilities. In other words, making sure the company stays solvent. Finance and accounting play an integral role in every business. Every company makes a lot of decisions, the grand majority of which depend on financial implications of those decisions. Working in finance and accounting positions you to other departments improve their decision-making by providing a financial lens to those decisions. Human resources is a key component to a well-functioning company. People work at every company. Those people, the way they interact, the expectations that affect the way they work, are all very complex dynamics. Working in human resources will position you to help the company improve their understanding of the way that people work for the company and how the company can better structure itself to account for unique opportunities presented by the human element. Marketing drives demand for the products and services of many companies. Every company has a brand that ultimately affects the top line for the company. Working in marketing will position you to better understand the communities served by your company and the best way to communicate with those communities. Every company has many parts. How those parts operate and flow depends heavily on the operational function of the company. Working in operations will position you to develop a strong framework for the inner workings of a company because you will need to communicate across teams in order to succeed in your role. As we reach a new barrier in technological advancement, the technology division of any company or bank will become an even more significant part of the company. Staying up on the latest trends in technology will be paramount as companies take advantage of the efficiencies and advantage afforded to them by the technology they incorporate into their operations. The second track for you to consider is the group of tracks that position you to determine the fate of market players by navigating the market. Earlier, we recognized the market to be similar to an animal. The tracks in this category will challenge you to understand that animal at length, to predict which events will affect its behavior and by how much. The environment created by tracks in this second category will position you to become someone who can take in and digest a lot of information, someone who can think quickly on their feet, adapt to rapidly changing environments, and work under pressure. Most of the opportunities in this track category originate at banks, and for good reason. Companies of all industries pay banks to understand the market well, and ultimately, these companies pay banks for their advice on how to best interact with the market. In addition to the capital markets often referenced in this section, the real estate market should also be considered. The real estate market, though directly influenced by the capital markets, carries with it several implications. The first track in this category is investment management. Investment management teams determine the fate of the institutional investors they advise. If you're working in investment management, institutional investors trust your opinion on how risky a given financial instrument is, how those instruments interact with market dynamics, and what market dynamics are currently at play. This is why investment managers focus so heavily on the specific investment objectives desired by the institutional investor. Working in investment research means you are determining the fate of the companies you track. People in the industry will trust your opinion on the health and future of the companies you cover. This is why investment research groups are often organized by industry, so they can develop a keen sense of the ebb and flow of the industry, how government regulation affects that industry, and every small detail you can imagine regarding the companies within that industry. Next is sales and trading, determining the fate of the securities you trade or sell to the market. If you're working in sales and trading, people trust your opinion on the day-to-day value of what you're trading. And if you work in sales, the value of the securities you're selling to the institutional investors before the securities begin to formally trade. The expertise in the day-to-day fluctuations of the market mandates that you think quickly on your feet and can mature in a high-pressure environment. Most of you may be surprised by this next track, technology. At SEO, we also partner with banks who are looking for experience in technology groups with a sales or trading focus. Technology teams are becoming ever more important as trades become more automated and information spreads at a faster pace than ever before. In this regard, technology has a subtle and potentially dramatic impact on the fate of all market participants. In wealth management, you are directly determining the fate of the individual investors you advise. If you're working in wealth management, incredibly wealthy individuals trust your opinion on how risky any given financial instrument is, how those instruments interact with market dynamics, and what market dynamics are currently at play. In this role, you are working with the client to understand their investment goals and the time frame of their investment. This is why wealth managers focus so heavily on their ability to build relationships and communicate effectively. Determining the fate of the institutional and individual investors they advise will be part of your day-to-day in a real estate position. If you're working in real estate, individuals and institutional investors trust your opinion on how the real estate market is developing and what types of real estate development projects will meet their investment objectives. The last track category for you to consider is the group of tracks that guide corporations into the next stage of development. Each track in this category will challenge you to learn the fundamentals of leadership as you learn how to advise others, manage expectations, and work well with others. Ultimately, developing these qualities will give you the confidence needed to one day get in front of clients. Our partners in this category span across investment banks, real estate firms, consulting firms, and alternative investment firms as well. The alternative investments group meets companies at various stages of their development. Private equity firms target well-established companies with strong cash flows, while venture capitalists target smaller, early-stage startups. Hedge funds can take a minority stake in companies and drive decision-making from the top. Consultants oftentimes target companies that need to overcome an obstacle in their growth, or save themselves from what seemed an inevitable fall. Investment banks guide companies through the growth cycle, giving them advice as they look to the capital markets for funding and deciding which assets to acquire as they build strategy. Similar to investment banking, there are some opportunities in real estate that will position you to guide companies throughout the growth cycle, giving them advice as they look to determine their valuation and decide which assets to acquire as they build strategy. This targeting deck gives you a great sense of each individual track and the broader track categories we have here at SEO. But it's important to remember that this is just the start of your journey. You may end up in real estate, working on appraisal models and conducting due diligence on a potential new market. Or maybe you end up in investment research, putting in the hours to lay a solid foundation for your career. Or maybe like Paula, you go after investment banking and end up on a live deal. No matter the case, we at SEO are here to help. We prioritize our relationships with our partners to ensure that you're adequately preparing for the internships you're going to be interviewing for. And maybe one day you'll end up achieving even more than you can imagine now. Moving forward. As a next step, please make sure to complete the targeting module quiz and the targeting exercise. Once completed, you should feel confident that you have identified the SEO track that is of greatest interest to you and communicate your preferences to your coach during your next coaching call. Thank you for listening to the audio supplement to this deck, and best of luck in the next stage of your SEO Edge journey.